Taylen Green or Drew Allar? Who would be the better Tanner McKee replacement?
You are Locked On Eagles, your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day, and thanks for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. On today's bonus episode of the Locked On Eagles podcast, we are going to continue our prospect versus prospect series, and we are moving over to the quarterback position. And no, this has absolutely nothing to do with replacing Jalen Hurts for 2026, for 2027, if eventually the Eagles are going to explore that alternative route at the most important position in all of sports. Instead of taking Jalen Hurts into the future as your QB1, I don't think that player is going to come from the 2026 NFL draft. I think this is a really thin and overall just lacking talent quarterback class compared to the last 5 to 6 years. Like, this reminds me a lot of 2022, where maybe there's one or two franchise caliber quarterbacks in this class. In 2022, honestly, I think at this point, there really wasn't any. I mean, Brock Purdy actually was one. Maybe Malik Willis, my guy, becomes that guy in Miami. But overall, like, the 2026 class gives me those kind of vibes. But for the Eagles trying to replace Tanner McKee long-term, I could totally see this class developing a young long-term QB2 for the Philadelphia Eagles. And there's a couple guys that I think on day 3, if you're looking for a player that, obviously, if you're taking a quarterback on day 3, they are not finished products. They have a lot of work to do in developing certain traits, low floor players, but maybe they have high ceilings. Maybe they have a couple A+ traits. Maybe it's arm strength. Maybe it's size. Maybe it's football IQ. Maybe it's mobility. You take a chance on a guy like that with a couple legitimate traits, and you hope that over time you can develop the rest of their skills and make them either a starting caliber quarterback one day or maybe a really high-end QB2 that you could eventually in the future trade for future draft assets because another team wants to make them the franchise quarterback. I feel like that worked really well with Tanner McKee. He has been an elite backup quarterback for Jalen Hurts over the last couple of years. In my opinion, I do think he could be a starting caliber quarterback with a lot of NFL teams this year and next year. I would like to try that again because Tanner McKee is going to be a free agent after the 2026 regular season. So this feels like the time to dip your toes in the water again, right? They traded for Andy Dalton, but Andy Dalton's going to be 39 years old this year. Like, I would like to get a long-term QB2 in the building with, maybe some starting upside. If there ever is a scenario where Jalen Hurts is gone, it would be nice to have some sort of in-house option, kind of like you have right now with Tanner McKee. And there's two guys that I'm thinking about a lot for this role. I'm thinking of Arkansas's Taylen Green, and I'm thinking of Penn State's Drew Allar. Again, Tanner McKee is going to be a free agent next year. I think it's time to go for a tradesy day 3 quarterback prospect. Who would you take between Drew Allar and Taylen Green? Both guys over the height of 6'5". Taylen Green is actually 6'6". Both have really strong arms. Both have a certain floor of mobility. Taylen Green is a much better runner, in my opinion, than Allar, but both are pretty mobile quarterbacks at the college level. If you want to take a chance on one of these guys, like, who is it? For me, I think it depends. I think a lot of these prospect versus prospect segments kind of depend on what you're looking for. But if the Eagles are looking for another Jalen Hurts type of player that is maybe a work in progress as a pocket passer from an accuracy standpoint, from a throwing against zone, throwing with anticipation kind of standpoint, but they're tall, they have a strong arm, they push the ball vertically, they're really mobile, you can use them in the RPO game, in the read option game, I think Taylen Green would be your guy. Now, if you're looking for more of a, I'd say a post-2017 kind of Carson Wentz, a Tanner McKee type, that to me is Drew Allar. Drew Allar has such a strong arm, really tight mechanics, but his footwork and lower body movement, kind of like Carson after 2017, it was a mess. Things were out of sync, and it made him wildly inaccurate. At times, it had him overthrowing the football, underthrowing the football because things didn't really move well in motion with his arm. He was relying solely on arm talent, on arm power, and that made him a erratic passing quarterback. I feel like Drew Allar, that's kind of Drew Allar. I've seen his Penn State tape, and there are some A-plus moments where when it all comes together, he looks like a franchise quarterback. He has the size. He has the arm strength. I think he doesn't really have the speed of a Taylen Green or a prime Jalen Hurts, but he kind of runs like, I'd say, 2019 Carson Wentz, like post ACL tear Carson Wentz. That's kind of what Drew Allar runs like. When he gets north-south, he can be a really powerful quarterback you can use on quarterback draws. You can use him in the red zone multiple years where he had, 5 to 8 rushing touchdowns with the Nittany Lions. I think he is somebody that could develop long-term to be kind of a Tanner McKee, maybe a more mobile version of that. But if you're looking more for like starter upside, then I think Taylen Green is that player. Like he's 6'6", but he's athletic. He's bendy. He's a skinnier 6'6" than like a Cam Newton or a Josh Allen. He's almost built. I saw this the other day. Todd McShay of The Ringer compared him to Colin Kaepernick. And now I can't unsee that. Like that's what he looks like to me. Now, who would I personally take of these two on day 3 to replace Tanner McKee? I'll tell you coming up next right here on the Locked On Eagles podcast. Today's episode of the Locked On Eagles podcast is presented by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are here where every possession matters, every matchup is magnified, and every game could swing a series. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a great way to get in on the action. Here's what I love the most. You can bet just $5. $5, that's it. You can bet a money line bet on one of your favorite teams to win and get $250 back in bonus bets if your first bet wins. The app makes it easy to follow the action with player stats, trends, and matchups all in one place. And during the playoffs, that extra insight really matters when you're looking at stars, role players, and key moments. It just makes the entire playoff experience more engaging from start to finish. So head to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game. Guys, today's show is also presented by TurboTax. It's tax time, but for a lot of us, the old ways of doing taxes is a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient, sitting in a waiting room with stacks of papers, emailing back and forth, and really wondering if they get your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. So head to turbotax.com/local to find a store near you and to book your appointment. Wrapping up this bonus edition of Locked On Eagles for Thursday, April 9th, and we're continuing our prospect versus prospect series. Drew Allar from Penn State versus Taylen Green of Arkansas. Again, if you're looking for, I think the higher ceiling is Taylen Green. But I do think both have really high ceilings. They're both extremely tall, powerful quarterbacks with good, solid mobility, strong arms, but they are definitely a work in progress when it comes to accuracy inside the pocket, when it comes to mechanics, when it comes to reading defenses and not having these pre-snap plans and having the ability to move off that if a defense throws you a different look, a different kind of coverage, a disguised blitz package. I think those are the kind of answers day 3 quarterbacks often struggle to find. But they have a lot of the physical traits that you look for in a really high-end elite QB2 or even a starting level quarterback in the modern day NFL. If you're looking for a Jalen Hurts type, I think that's Taylen Green. If you're looking more for like a Tanner McKee post-2017 Carson Wentz kind of guy, I think that could be Drew Allar. For me personally, I like Taylen Green the best. I think Taylen Green is, outside of Mendoza, my favorite quarterback that could potentially, in a very thin, not overly talented class, if you told me like one other guy in 5 years becomes a really solid starter in the NFL, if you told me one of these guys becomes a really good starter, I would bet Taylen Green, even over Ty Simpson from Alabama. I think Taylen Green has the traits that could get it done. Again, 6'6", he is really athletic. When he gets downhill, like he is a fast quarterback, and he's got a strong arm. Like he can push the ball vertically. But again, the accuracy, the football IQ, that stuff has to get better. But I actually think that he might not even be a day 3 pick. The Eagles might have to choose between like Drew Allar and maybe Cole Payton from North Dakota State, or I don't know, Carson Beck from Miami. It might have to be one of those guys or Drew Allar, because I think Taylen Green, like if there's two quarterbacks that go, let's say, hypothetically, Mendoza goes first overall, then I think Ty Simpson probably goes in that 25 to 35 range, 25 to 40, within those 15 picks at the back end of the first round. In the early part of the second round, I think Simpson's off the board. Do we really think that another quarterback is not going to go for 3 rounds? Like, I think one other guy will get taken, whether it's late second, third round, early fourth. I think one other quarterback likely will go off the board there. And I think that will likely be Taylen Green. So if the Eagles want him, they might have to take him with that 98th overall pick in the third round. They might have to take him at pick 114 in the fourth. And I could see the Eagles doing that. But for me, I think value-wise, Drew Allar might be the better pick. I think the better player, though, the better prospect that I like is Taylen Green, and I'd rather have him be the long-term backup. Also because when you think about who's the better long-term Jalen Hurts backup, if it's not about potential starting ceiling, if you're talking about who complements Jalen the best, that's Green, because Green is a much more mobile, fluid athlete that I think fits the Eagles' kind of offense. Although they're moving more towards a West Coast system, they're not going to completely abandon a lot of the shotgun RPO elements that have made Jalen Hurts great over the years. And I think Taylen Green fits that style better than Drew Allar. Maybe they want to move completely away from that, though, and they go with Drew Allar. I'm not sure. I personally, though, would take Taylen Green over Drew Allar. Let me know what you think. Hit us up on X at Locked On Birds, or our YouTube community page as well at Locked On Eagles. That's going to do it for Prospect versus Prospect right here on our bonus edition of the Locked On Eagles podcast. Thanks so much for making us your first listen each and every day. Until tomorrow, thanks so much for downloading, watching, and listening, and let's go Birds. Fly, Eagles, fly.